Hi, I'm Dave Long, Sales and Marketing Manager for Case IH Pull-Type Fertilizer Application Equipment. Today we're going to be reviewing the features of our Nutri-Placer 2800 liquid Sidedress applicators. The 2800 applicators are an integral part of our Nutri-Placer lineup. Case IH has been a long-time leader in the pull-type fertilizer application market, delivering products that are commercial quality, productive, agronomically correct, and backed up by the support of our distributors and dealers. The Nutri-Placer 2800s, and we're going to be looking at two different chassis today, our 850 and 1,000 gallon chassis, and then our 1,300 gallon chassis. These applicators have become an important part of a lot of farmers' operations. As farmers continue to look for increases in fertilizer efficiency and trying to find that next incremental yield bump, a lot of guys are looking at their nutrient application programs. They're looking at their nitrogen programs. With nitrogen, timing is critical. Having the right amount of nitrogen available to the plant when the plant needs it. Nitrogen is mobile in the soil. It can also be volatile. It can leach. You can get denitrification. So what a lot of our producers are looking at, especially in a corn crop, is split applications of nitrogen. You're providing some nitrogen pre-plant, possibly at planting, but then coming back with a Sidedress application at that critical stage from emergence to V5. Because a V5 corn plant, that is when the nitrogen use and the nitrogen needs of the plant really go vertical. From that time forward, that is when that corn plant needs the nitrogen. So with the 2800 applicators, you can split up that nitrogen, make it available to the plant when it needs it. It doesn't take a lot of horsepower. It's very productive and efficient in the fact that you can side dress at speeds of 8-9 miles an hour. You don't have to be real concerned about the soil being too dry or too wet to seal. You have a wide application window. You can get in there, get it fast, get it done, and provide that nitrogen for the plant when it needs it. The Nutri-Placer 2800 we have here today is a 1,000 gallon chassis. It's also available as an 850 gallon chassis as well, and we'll talk about the features of both of these as we go around it today. They both share the same frame, a 4x4 frame, and you'll see the same design on all of our Nutri-Placer 2800 applicators in the fact that we have the coulter bar captured in between the hitch on the tractor and the tank on the applicator. And that provides us some down pressure. It keeps the coulter bar and the coulters close to the pivot point on the pin. The coulter bar is available in sizes from 17.5 feet to 27.5 feet. The coulter bar has a parallel lift, so it lifts level as you're using it in the field. The tanks on all of our 2800 applicators are all oriented so that they're mounted on the chassis lengthwise. And that helps keep the applicator narrower. It creates better visibility when you're in road transport. And another thing about this chassis is that it has excellent transport dimensions. When you're in transport position with the wings folded up, you're 12 feet 4 inches wide, 9 feet 8 inches tall. The 850 and 1,000 gallon chassis, we have 3 different options to control the liquid product and the application in the field. We have 2 different piston pumps that are available, either a ground drive single piston pump or a ground drive double piston pump, depending on how much capacity you're looking for in your application. We also have a hydraulic driven centrifugal pump with electronic control, and that's what we have on this 1,000 gallon 2800 here today. With the hydraulic driven centrifugal and electronic controls, you have a 3-section shutoff, regulating valve and flow meter, and we can control those components 3 different ways as well. We can use Case IH AccuControl to utilize the Pro 700 in your Case IH tractor. We also have a generic ISO control cable and node available for controllers made by other manufacturers. And then we have a generic non-ISO control cable if you have a non-ISO controller that you can utilize on your farm. So 3 different ways to control those electronic components. You know, something really that you can tailor to fit your needs on your farm and utilize the equipment that you have. As we move around to the side of the Nutri-Placer 2800 applicator, you can really see now where that coulter bar is captured in between the hitch on the tractor and the tank on the applicator. That allows that toolbar to move up and down, use the weight of the applicator to hold the coulters and the coulter bar in the ground at operating depth at all times. The other thing it does is it provides positive tongue weight at all times. You never get in a negative tongue weight situation, you always have positive tongue weight. And with the tank oriented to where it's centered over the axle, the tongue weight won't change as you go from loaded to empty. You're primarily carrying the weight of the product on the chassis of the applicator all the time. Now this applicator that we're looking at here is our 1,000-gallon model. So on the 1,000-gallon model, we have a 320 85R38 tire on 120-inch spacing. If this was an 850-gallon model, we'd have 2 different axles that are available on the 850-gallon. We have a adjustable width axle that's adjustable from 62 to 80 inches so that we can hit a variety of row spacings. With the 62 to 80-inch axle, we can hit a 30, a 36, a 38, or 40-inch row spacings. We also have a 120-inch fixed axle available for the 850-gallon tank unit. With both of those axles, we would have a 14L 16-1 tire available on the 850-gallon model. As we move around to the back of the Nutri-Placer 2800, here you can see our Hypro hydraulic-driven centrifugal pump that we use to supply the product to the coulters. This pump has a capacity of 140 gallons per minute. This will satisfy the needs of our largest demands in a Sidedress application. The other thing you can see here is our convenient 2-inch fill. It's located right at the back corner of the applicator, so it's easily accessible to any of your nurse equipment, easy to get to, and very convenient to load the applicator, keep it in the field, and keep it running. Now that we've reviewed the 850 and 1,000-gallon Nutri-Placer 2800 chassis, let's move on over and take a look at the 1,300-gallon chassis. As you can see, on the 1,300-gallon model, both the chassis and the coulter bar are much more robust and heavy. On the chassis on the 1,300-gallon model, we utilize 4x8 tubing to handle the weight of the larger product tank, 1,300 gallons, and also the heavier coulter bar. Because on the 1,300-gallon model, the coulter bar is either available in a 27.5 foot or 37.5 foot size, so we're going wider. We're going wider, it needs to be more robust and stronger. So the coulter bar on the 1,300-gallon model features heavy wall 4x6 tubing with diagonal bracing. Double ranked bar goes out to 37.5 foot. The other thing that the coulter bar on the 1,300-gallon features is an active hydraulic system. With a liquid coulter injection, whether we're using a knife or an injector tube, a liquid coulter doesn't have draft, it has resistance. So what we found as we go wider, in the 1,300-gallon model on a 30-inch spacing would have 15 coulters to Sidedress 16 rows. As we go out wider, we have more resistance, and so we have to provide some additional hydraulics to hold those coulters in depth at our desired operating depth while we're running through the field. So when we're running the 1,300-gallon 2800 in the field, we'll actually leave our work valve, the hydraulic valve on the tractor that we raise and lower the coulter bar on the 2800, we'll leave it in the detented position to where we have hydraulic flow and pressure available to the coulter bar both to the raised lower cylinders and to our wing cylinders. Now that oil flows through a pressure reducing relieving valve where we're going to step down the hydraulic pressure from the tractor to about 1,000 psi. So that we're providing 1,000 pounds of hydraulic pressure to our wing fold cylinders and our raised lower cylinder to push this coulter bar down into the ground. We offer gauge wheels on the 1,300 gallon model that we didn't see on the 850 and 1,000 gallon models, because we're going to be putting pressure out here on this wing with hydraulics, and we'll keep this gauge wheel firmly planted on the ground at all times. Now, since it's a pressure reducing relieving system, we're going to be providing pressure to keep it in the ground, but we're also going to be allowing for contour following, because the wings are going to be able to float. We can float 7 degrees down and really unlimited up, because as the wings come up on a terrace, the pressures in this hydraulic cylinder will raise above 1,000 psi when that happens. And so that relieving valve will relieve oil back to the tractor while maintaining 1,000 psi of down pressure on this wing fold cylinder to provide down pressure to keep our coulters at the desired operating depth. Now, as you come down off of that terrace, since we have our hydraulic valve on the tractor in the detented position, we have flow available. There will be hydraulic flow available to go out to that cylinder to maintain 1,000 psi as that wing follows the ground contour back down. Very important feature on the 1,300 gallon model of the 2800. Active hydraulics to allow your coulters to follow the ground contours while maintaining the proper depth of your coulter, so you're getting your fertilizer in the proper place at all times. The hydraulic system on the 1,300 gallon chassis includes a flow divider, so both of your wings will fold and unfold at the same time. There's also a limit position switch that's located on the left inner wing cylinder, that when the coulter bar is unfolding, when that limit switch engages and closes, it will stop, and then a sequence valve then lets your outer wings fold around. So when you put the coulter bar down into work position, the wings will drop just a little bit ahead of the center section, and you can see that the active hydraulic down pressure that's available on the 1,300 gallon chassis will push both the wings and the center section down into the ground. Again, with the coulter bar captured in between the hitch on the tractor and the weight of the chassis and the product in the tank, will hold your coulters at a consistent operating depth. When it's time to raise the coulter bar at the end of the field to make your end row turn, the wings will raise slightly higher above level than what the mainframe is to allow additional clearance for making those end row turns. As we move around to the side of the 1,300 gallon 2800, again we can notice that the tank is centered over the axle, so we're carrying the weight of the product on the chassis of the applicator. The coulter bar's in the front, so we always have positive tongue weight. But our tongue weight doesn't really change as we go from loaded to empty in the tank. The tire option available on the 1,300 gallon model is a 420/80 R46 to handle the additional capacity of the 1,300 gallon applicator. We have two different product control options. You can either get a ground drive double piston pump or a hydraulic drive centrifugal pump. As we see on this applicator, has a capacity of 212 gallons per minute. So we have a lot of capacity in the pump and control system on this applicator. So the hydraulic driven centrifugal pump is located at the back where it's easily accessible. It's close to the outlet of the tank. All of our fill is located at the rear of the 2800, so it's easily accessible to your nurse tanks and your nurse equipment, and located right here at the back corner of the applicator. The other thing that we offer on the 1,300 gallon tank is right here next to your fill is a 8 gallon hand wash tank, so you have some clean water so that you can wash your hands and get cleaned up after you fill. Another thing that you're going to be able to see from the rear of the applicator is on the 1,300-gallon model, we offer an adjustable axle. Will allow us to hit either 30, 36, 38, or 40-inch rows. Flexibility for a wide variety of different crops. All of our Case IH liquid applicators feature the same 20-inch liquid coulter. This is where all the work is done. It's a very important part of the applicator. You need to get it right. We offer a couple different options in our coulter, as we see here, with a thin knife, and then also with a high-pressure straight stream injector. The same coulter can use either the knife or the injector. 20-inch blade, earth metal, so that it has excellent wear characteristics. And you notice it has a little bit of a ripple, because the function of this coulter is we want to open up just a little bit of gap in the soil, either to create a path for this thin knife or a path for that high pressure straight stream of liquid nitrogen to shoot down into the soil profile, get it through the residue, down into the soil where it's captured. Now there's some unique features with the Case IH liquid injection coulter. And like I said earlier, it's an important part of the machine because this is where the work's done, and you need to get it right. And we do some things that are unique. One thing, whether you're using a knife or an injector, you want to make sure that your ground engaging or your delivery mechanism is hitting that slot and getting that fertilizer exactly where it needs to be. So to do that, we utilize a 3/4 inch by 3-inch steel assembly that comes back around to the back of the knife and provide a large mounting surface that will accept either the knife or the injector. So as we look at this with the knife, there's some things you got to do right when you're using a knife. With the thin knife, you can see it's tucked right in here behind the coulter. You'll also notice that it doesn't extend down below the coulter. So the knife isn't engaging the soil, it's purely following in the path that's created by the coulter and opened up that slot with the ripples that we see. Now when you're using a coulter in this application, it's very important the knife stay as close to that coulter as you can. You can see we got it moved right up here. It has the same radius of curvature as our coulter blade. Because if you don't have that, you're very likely to start hairpinning residue in between your coulter blade and your knife, or if you move that knife farther back, you're going to start hairpinning residue around the knife, and you're going to have plugging problems, or you're going to be moving too much soil and causing a lot of problems. So on our mounting surface, we're using 2 bolts. You can see we have slotted holes in this knife so that we can adjust this knife and get it tucked right up here, right up against the back of our blade. And then we do one more thing. We have a boss that's made in to our mounting surface, and we install a set screw on here so that once we get our knife in position where we want it, we can put that set screw right up against the back of that knife, lock it in, and make sure that that knife isn't going to move on us once we get to running in the field. Now when we look at an injection tube, it doesn't engage the ground, so it doesn't really have a lot of pressure on it, but it's very important that if you're going to have that injection tube there, you want a solid mounting surface, something substantial and stable in field operation, so that straight stream of liquid is going to hit that slot, get in the residue, get in the soil, and be captured in the ground. Because if that injector is missing that slot and you're just off from one side to the other, you're really missing the whole purpose of what you're out here trying to do. So consider our liquid coulters. We have a lot of features, well made, agronomically correct to deliver that fertilizer to the soil so it's available to the plant and can be utilized. So that's our review of the Case IH NutriPlacer 2800 applicators. So whether it's an 850, 1000, or 1,300-gallon model that best fits your operation. Case IH provides a commercial quality applicator with productivity and agronomically correct features built in and backed up by our Case IH distributors and dealers that know this product. It allows you to get better nutrient efficiency, take advantage of timed nitrogen application to make you more productive and to help your bottom line.